environment, that was an environment that was still, let's call it kind of clean. Kind of, I mean, we were trying to get rid of the boll weevil and spraying a little DDT around there, but it wasn't washed up. The environment we're living in today, dear believers, we're allowing ourselves to be poisoned. And we're allowing the people that's poisoning the environment and poisoning us to say, if we didn't poison you, we would be poor and broke, right? We got to poison you, right? And we got to raise stuff and make stuff. I was just the one doctor, a scientist on TV talking about that cereal, all the cereal in a box. He said, nutrition-wise, if you wanted nutrition, you would take the cereal out of the box, pour it out, and do what? Eat the box. The box is made out of wood. That's what the scientists said. We ain't making this up. Y'all might have heard the same stuff. The scientists said, and all of us got big boxes of cereal for the poor children, you know. If you want nutrition, take the cereal and pour it out. That's what he said. And eat the box. Because the box is made out of paper, and paper is made out of wood, right? So there's some nutrition still in there. But anyway, let's get back to Shuaib. Let's get back to the environment. And let's get back to a few situational. We're in a situation right now. So basically, I'm going to say what we're going to do and then we'll wrap it up. We won't be here like we usually be a long time. Not a long, long time. I'm not saying it ain't going to be a while. But anyway, that in situational leadership and in situational management, people have to do the best they can in the situation that they found themselves in. Like, we did not produce the environmental situation. We didn't produce the fish making dua to Allah. Remember the hadith? We read them before. That the fish of the sea, the fowl of the air will make dua for the knowledgeable man. Isn't that right? And it's one knowledgeable man is better than 1,000 normal worshipers, right? So in those days, they wouldn't know what that meant, but it meant that the fowl of the air, the birds of the air, the fish of the sea will be praying for somebody to come up and clean up the water that they have to live in, right? The fish of the sea. Dying of starvation because all that little stuff that they're eating now is plastic and it just collects right there. They did some things in Arabia because all them plastic bags, the camels was eating all them, and they took a hump out of the camel that was pure plastic. That big thing on his back, it wasn't gel or whatever it used to be. It was plastic. It was plastic. What we're talking about is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created this world that we're living in with mizan, wazan, with balance, right? And for us, it is a good balance. And now that's gone. It's gone, right? The balance in the earth. Have you noticed the temperatures and the waterfall around the earth in which we live in? The increase of deserts, right? Don't talk about California. I'm from just flying into Oakland, San Francisco, you turn on the news, it'll say, on a good year, like right this minute, you listen to the news, they'll say it's 500 fires. Fires are burning up the carbon in what? Trees. Things that saves carbon is what? Trees, right? Trees breathe in carbon dioxide and breathe out oxygen, isn't that right? That's what the plants do. That's how we rolling along right now, right? What about when that job is made more difficult because they have been made to live in a certain environment and they can't move, right? So they have to stay right there where they are. And they have to breathe in a heavy load of carbon dioxide. But it only covers the leaves, like film and all of that, right? Sometimes they get lucky in a little rain, wash it off, and they can breathe again. But we have businessmen as leaders, like the president of Brazil. Brazil is like, hey man, when you even fly over that great plain in Brazil, it is just covered with greenish. The Amazon. Hey man. You know, the Amazon River is 60 times, carries 60 times the water to the Mississippi. And the Mississippi, we think that Mississippi, man, that's a bad river. The Amazon carries 60 times the water, right? Okay, so that means that that whole area is green. The crackpot that used to like old Don, the guy that elected down in Brazil, he said, I'm taking out all the stops. You can now burn up all the forests you want, and you can make bigger farms, and you can do all of that. And within a split second, he had cut down tons of trees, right? Fill the air full of carbon, and it hinders, they call Brazil the lungs of the world, because all of that greenery cleans up the, okay. This is not just an environmental talk, but sometimes you have to deal with what's killing everything. And right now, this crackpot, the human being, that lost its sight on the purpose of life. And he thinks the purpose of life is to get some more money to produce something else, and he will not freeze economies. He won't stop doing nothing, because it's like the people of Shuaib. If we were to do that, we would go broke. He ain't said nothing about what's going to happen when he can't breathe on earth. They're billionaires, so they got a little plan. They're going to have a little area that have, you know, generators, pump fresh air in there to them. What about me and you? The ones that cause the problem, right? Oh, so the sea rise is rising. Well, in America, we'll just build a little cement water wall. What about Bangladesh? What about Bangladesh? Nobody thought about Bangladesh? Do you know how high Bangladesh is? Just this high. I mean, what I mean is high. But there's this, they don't have no space. You know what I mean? They can't stand. And the islands, they're writing letters now. Sometimes, some of the islands are gone, 2/3 of some of the islands right there in the Pacific. You know why? They say, hey man, they were just nice little coastal islands, right? Fishermen went out and got it, and they're not that high above sea level. And now you drive down the road, if you can drive down the road, even in Hawaii, the old roads, the water done eased on up there. And you can't drive when it's a certain tide. You can't drive on those roads in Hawaii. Why? Because they made them right near the water. And now the water done moved up. What I'm talking about, this is not an environmental discussion. It's a Quranic discussion. Because it's not talking about a new situation. When the people of Shuaib had an issue, it was one issue. When the people of Musa's time had an issue, it was the same thing. And guess what? In Musa's time, one plague after another. What did Pharaoh and his people say? You know, there's just a little red water, probably Kool-Aid or something you put in there. You know, somebody told him, well, some mountain exploded way up the Nile and it turned the water red. Anything, right? And these scientists are telling us these same things. And Oglala Aquifer, man up in Nebraska and all that runs all that fresh water underground. It's a few inches left. They pumped it all out. They pumped it all out. What I'm trying to say is this. The disaster, the Quranic disasters of the old days will be similar yet varied from the disasters today. Right? This is a Quranic disaster. What do they say about floods? Do we have now floods? Started 25 years ago. Of what? Biblical proportions, right? You ever hear that on the news? Floods of biblical, in other words, they're saying these floods are of scriptural proportion. Now, that's 25 years ago, 30 years ago, that started. And now, all the plagues that hit other people, well, they got hit by a hot furnace blast that had them prostrate on the floor in their caves and what have you, right? Those were environmental disasters that the people, I won't say enjoyed, but had to live with because of their irreligious behavior, right? So America, is it very religious? Don't look like it to me. Is it criminal? Well, if you black, go outside and do a little holler and get yourself shot. And the people come here to America because you have freedom now. And what do we do in here? We have what? They're telling us about the freedom we have here. It's a wonderful thing to have it. I mean, but just think if you really had it, wouldn't that be nice? If you had the Declaration of Independence in your back pocket and you could go down to any store and cash it in. You go down to the police department and say, I have a right to freedom, justice, and equality. Right? So that'd be nice if you could do that. I don't think you can. And I haven't even found nobody. Anybody here ever had any of that freedom, justice, and equality? I thought so. Okay. Anyway, I'm going to wrap it up in a second, but here's what we're trying to do. We're trying to show that this is a modern environment, but it has the same consistent pattern that all the other ancient societies that we read about in the Quran, in Hadith, and most of us was Christians, so we remember all of this stuff from what? The Bible, right? We remember every time Allah wanted to shake a few people up, or that people in that area, they got hit with a blast of one thing or another. It might have been water with Noah. It might have been some type of explosion or something with the people of Sodom and Gomorrah, right? People of Lot, you know what I mean? Doing Abraham's stuff. They got hit with those things. We're getting hit with it now and we're just sleepwalking. We're sleepwalking. And my kids was telling me yesterday, Dad, you're having a meltdown. I said, meltdown? You stick around here, you're gonna have a meltdown. I mean, I was just talking about these things like they really were. And everybody else is actually just going up and down the street. And ain't nobody turning flips or nothing. And it's 121 degrees in Canada. For the average degree, I tell you what it used to be. In the place, it was 61 degrees, the average temperature in the summer. And now it's double, double. Huh? 121, 500 people reading the newspaper, just pop this stuff up. You got phones now, I'll tell you. 500 people, well, that was yesterday, died in Canada because of the temperature. Okay. Well, we'll kind of close. Here's what our idea. Our idea is we're going to do what we can. I know we're small, unwealthy type organization, but we're going to use all the resources we have to try to help solve these problems. You know, we talked about homeless shelters and all that in California. Well, the government been bad, and he's been really bad. They have. So now we're going to sue them for $200 million. Don't laugh. If any of y'all been listening to the Khutbahs, we just about got them. Because we've been living a life that would trap them. Yes. And that's what we did. That's what we did because we looked at our history and we saw what could you do. And you had to have extraordinary methods to go against this government. One of the things that this government at this time is exactly opposite of what we said. We say now, join the government, join the police, join everybody. Why? Because you don't know how much time we got left. And in a tragedy, people start going crazy. Who's going to protect you? Why? The police. What are the police doing to you now? Killing you by the numbers, right? You want to protect yourself and your family and your future? Join the police in heavy numbers till you get a critical mass, right? Now all the Negroes go to the university, Howard, and everywhere. They usually join the system, right? They get in, they're going to be accountants, they're going to be counselors. So most of us join the system anyway. We're not like immigrants and others who work for a while and then they get them a business. Well, they broke our back on business. What do you think the Wall Street in Oklahoma was about, right? The first big Wall Street was in Oklahoma. Who ran it? Negroes burned it up. Burn it up. They said, well, you guys are lazy. That's what people think. Here's what we say. And I'll close in a minute. Most of the avenues for us are blocked. Within a few years, chaos is coming to America. Why? Because America is following a Quranic pattern, right? It's mean, it's killing everybody, it's going on about its business. Therefore, when things fall apart, you want to be in a position. They're already waving flags in every black neighborhood. Join the police, join the sheriff, right? Join. Go down now and join. And Latinos should go down and join. Why? So when we get a critical mass, we're going to join under the guise of the Constitution. The Constitution of America, right? Tell the truth. You got a lot of, don't you have a lot of freedoms in the Constitution? Tell the truth. Declaration of Independence, Life, Liberty, Pursuit of Happiness, all of that. So when you go down and join up, it's not to become a Negro police that want to beat other Negroes upside the head. It's to have a critical mass. So when they give any order, like in 5 or 10 years, by that time you'll have critical mass. I heard that they give Negroes money to go to school. So that means you could study, you could take them tests, so you'll become sergeants, captains, and lieutenants. So this stuff that's going on now, how long you think it's going to last? How long you think they're going to have water? How long you think they're going to be able to keep producing like they just producing and producing and producing? America's already going down. To somebody else, come here, America's on the way up, right? But you used to could come here, you could wash dishes, you could work in a restaurant, you could send hundreds of dollars back home to your wife's family, hundreds of dollars back home to your family, and you'd have enough to live here too. You could do that 30 years ago, ask anybody. 40 years ago, you had it good. Can't do that now. You ain't making enough money to do nothing. You're barely getting by. America is crumbling. America is on the tract of Rome, Great Britain. Remember the sun used to never sat on the British Empire? What happened to it? It went down, right? It went down. The great French Empire, the great Francophone countries, right? What happened? The people, those countries are not able to make it anymore. When they go to the edge of the boat and they want to throw somebody overboard, you think the American, you put it this way, you think the white man gonna jump overboard? No, first thing he's gonna do, as long as he's the biggest population, he's gonna throw you overboard first. He's gonna throw your wife overboard. He's gonna throw your children overboard, right? You know he's gonna do that. Whatever happened in a panic? In a panic, the strong move back and they get to moving on the weak. All the inhuman things come out, right, of the population. That's why we have to get in a situation to protect ourselves. That's what George Floyd, that's what all of these other killings of black people in America was, to show you you don't have no freedom, right? And that you want to join with Latinos. Even Asians used to come here and say, remember how Asians, they was the jewel of American immigrants. Boy, they come here and they studied hard, and they got big businesses. Hey, it was a few, you know, Oakland's right next to Berkeley. The Chinese students, I mean, from America, used to study so hard, the white people would be mad at them. Why don't y'all, because some places graded on a curve, you know what I mean? Not just what you got an A or B, A, that. They took everybody's test together and they made that the scale. So if the Chinese students didn't play at all hardly, every now and then, they sit there and they studied. They start saying that they're not even a minority anymore. Chinese students for 30 years, 40 years ago, they stopped being minority students, right? They stopped, okay, that's true with many immigrants, Koreans, Japanese, all them people. Believe it or not, even a lot of our Muslim sisters and brothers are steeped in study. That's all they do. I used to speak at universities all over. Well, they study all day and all night. So we ain't left out of that picture. But here's something. America is going down fast. And hey, everybody just rolling on like it ain't. Huh? 115 degrees in Portland? That's nothing. Oregon? 121 degrees up in Canada, way up in Canada. Mountains of ice melting in Alaska, filling up the oceans, right? And everybody just walking along like it ain't nothing. No, that ain't no big deal. Just more fresh water in saltwater ocean. It's gonna be all right. Right? That's what they're saying. I'm saying that we have to do what we can to make the world a better place. So what we're going to do, all the property we own, we're going to use it for these purposes. The property here, the property in Oakland and all the other stuff, we're going to use it for what we stated before, to try to make the world a better place. So we're not just talking about it, but we're going to try, as we have been, to do something about it. We've always been doing it, but now, let's call this an emergency. Tell the truth. This is an emergency right now. This is not just any old everyday global fitna. This is the world that Allah gave us, that they are ruining and polluting to the point that they're going to live up to their name. Fasiqeen, Dhalimeen, and all that stuff. Right? That's what they're doing. And they're doing it freely, without no intermission and without no interference. We're a small group. We don't have authority over everybody, so we're going to do what we can. If they don't want it, if they don't like fresh air, that's their business. We just do what we can. That's like, and I'll close, that's like Yawm al-Qiyamah. You know, you're not responsible, and you won't be held responsible for all of them, right? We'll be held responsible for our own individual behavior. And then there's certain things about the collective, the ummah type of judgment, but the individual judgment is the judgment. But sometimes the Quran talks about a people's. Okay, so what do we want to do? We want to be a part of the good people that try to rescue the earth from all of the smoke and fire. I don't want to talk about fires. I've talked about them 10 times, but I'll talk about this one fire before we close, because we're dealing with climate today. Remember, we dealt with how Allah gave us this planet. Boy, wasn't it nice? Can you imagine all that fresh air, right? All that, you could go, y'all didn't do it, y'all, because y'all are young, but when we drank water, we went to the stream, we went to the pump, we drank water. You just drink water. Remember I was telling you we had a water barrel. Now, my kids, if the water don't come out of the faucet, or actually now they worse than that. If the water don't come out of them bottles and plastic bottles, they won't drink it. If they see one little thing, they jump all back, right? I mean, they be serious about it too. They ain't gonna touch it. I said, just a little thing in the water. If you go in the woods, what's in the water? All the leaves, everything that's in the water, you drink, it's normal. That's the way we drink water for the past up to 50 years ago when they moved to the city. Before that, okay, Allah gave us this thing that works in harmony and unity, right, and balance. And now somebody, the fitna man, right, that messed it all up. Therefore, we don't have the power to stop him from doing that foolishness. So we have to exercise the power that we have to do good. Right, to try to clean it up, that's all. You know why? Because that's what we're going to be judged by on Yawm al-Qiyamah. how we exercise our authority, our power, what Allah gave us. Not them. Not Betos or whatever them rich people are. We're not going to be judged by what they did. Oh Allah, we seek thy refuge from anxiety and grief. We seek thy refuge from lack of strength and laziness. We seek thy refuge from cowardice and niggardliness. We seek thy refuge from being overpowered by debt and the oppression of men. O Allah, suffice us with what is lawful. Keep from us what is prohibited with thy grace, and make us free from one of what is beside thee. Ameen. You come to Salah.